Hi, and welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skibowski of Remaxlakes. Welcome to the weekend.
Good morning.
Good morning. And, you just had the big Remax convention out in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't believe I was exposed to the coronavirus.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but if you read the news, we've all been exposed to that.
Right,
Stay away, stay away.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. But yeah, it was a great conference, a lot of good information, a lot of new technology things that are going on for Remax. So pretty sweet.
That's one of the conventions that actually happened because a lot of conventions are not happening because of the coronavirus. There's like a big radio convention that's not happening because of that. So a lot of virtual meetings are going on instead. But is the coronavirus affecting the real estate market?
It hasn't yet, but I know we're seeing more and more articles. There's a company out there called Inman News, which is like the Bible for real estate.
Yeah.
It's about real estate business in general, not any one particular company. But they're talking about it's beginning to impact, the coast, which is typical, right? The areas where the virus has been the most significant, the West Coast, Washington State, New York now has got an area where they've, partitioned things off. And I guess, you don't want to make it like, oh, no, it's no big deal. But the fact is, again, this is Mark's opinion, if you look at the flu kills 20,000 people a year in the world, and we've had X number of, I don't know what the exact number is. It's not much.
No, it's like 27,000, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And we all lived through SARS. We all lived through Legionnaire's disease, all of these things that it's like, good Lord, where does this come from?
And here's the thing. It's all similar stuff.
Yeah.
The COVID-19, the COVID-19, it's like, okay, so, that's SARS was like, COVID something else.
Right.
It's something similar to that.
Something similar. And, ultimately, is it going to impact the market? If it gets bigger, absolutely. Our local market right now, I don't believe that it's impacting anybody's decision to whether or not they're going to go out and look at property or not. I don't think that's going to be the case. If it gets big and we get a couple of confirmed cases here in Kosciusko County, who knows? I know what they're seeing on the West Coast is people are starting to slow down as far as looking, even though the spring real estate market is picking up. This is typically when people start looking. March through September is the peak season for real estate, so it couldn't happen at a worse time for
the market.
For real estate. But it all comes down to pay attention to what you're doing. I'm not shaking anybody's hands just because I'm not a germaphobe. But who knows? Did they wash their hands? Did I wash my hands enough? Am I transmitting things like that? all those pieces, you just have to pay attention to that. It's funny, I had some folks I showed here this week, hey, let's elbow bump instead of shake hands. It's the norm because I always do shake hands. It's been part of business practice for me forever.
Sure.
But right now, I just got to modify that, just elbow bump and away you go. So hopefully it will not impact the local market. We're starting to see some of that on the East Coast, the West Coast, the areas that have been hit the hardest as far as hitting our country the hardest. There are not a lot of confirmed cases. I think something that's probably going to have more impact is just the economy in general.
Yeah.
The stock market, holy moly.
It was way down. Yeah, way down. But then the following day, it came right back up.
1,100 points one
1,100
day.
points.
It's just all over the map, and that's where that could impact the market. And I guess thinking long term on this whole virus deal, is it going to impact the overall economy? Is it going to mean that people are staying home, that their wages are reduced? Is it going to mean that economic output for individual companies is going to be down, their sales are going to be down, therefore layoff? You can think all the negative stuff in the world. You can predict that. In fact, again, I watch Fox Business every morning, not just Fox News. I watch Fox Business to get the business stuff. And there's this discussion is on about a recession again. Last year they battled it all year. Recession. We had one of the best years, economically that we could have ever had. This year it's starting out again. And this could be the indicator. This could be the thing that trips the trigger and creates that, recession that we're all, hopefully we don't see, but we know that there's going to be something like that take place at some point.
But we always seem to bounce right back. I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
It takes a little while.
But we bounce back.
Yeah, you need to be in it for the long haul. And that's the nice thing about real estate is in general, it is a longer term investment. It's not a, hey, I'm going to buy it and turn around next month and sell it.
Right.
When we, buy and sell homes, there's typically a pretty good reason for that. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. When I talk about the why for buyers, explore your why. Why are you going to, why do you need to purchase a house?
Yeah.
Maybe renting is the right thing for you. But long-term, real estate is still one of the largest investments any of us will ever make, and it's a good, solid, in general, long-term investment. Granted, 2008, all bets were off.
Right.
But that was a one-time event. I mean, it's happened once in our history.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen in my lifetime again that we would see a crash like that again.
Right. By and large, it appreciates.
Absolutely. Yep. And you can increase your wealth due to owning that property.
Well, I always go back to I could never ever afford the dream home, the big family home that I'm in right now if it wasn't for my first home, because that's the stepping stone that got me there.
Right.
There's no way I could have afforded, that.
Absolutely.
That
but
property.
It's still a good investment. Real estate is still a good investment.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. All right, we're going to talk about more about the current market conditions that are going on as we return here. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skibowski of Remax Lakes. And we're just talking about the coronavirus. I mean, it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Is it, slowing down the real estate market? And we haven't seen it yet.
Have not seen it yet. Yeah, and interest rates, the Fed cut rates once. They've already made, indication that they may very well cut rates again. And as we talked about, and as we have talked about in the past on the show, just because the Fed cuts the interest rate does not mean that mortgage interest rates go down automatically.
Right.
They don't go down overnight. That's where if you're considering, getting into the real estate market, hey, I want to buy something, being in touch with a local lender. The rates change every day. They change throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about, on average, the rates, right now, 30-year rates are still at all-time lows, 3.5%, some 3.25% for a conventional 30-year fixed loan. Those are some pretty darn good interest rates.
Yeah, they are.
So, again, I think that's real estate's more a long haul. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see an uptick in refis. So people refinancing their homes. Yeah. Because 2 years ago they bought it, 5% when rates were up to 5%. If you can get 1.5% reduction, maybe now's the time to do something like that, especially if you're going to stay there and lock in. And I get that question a lot. Hey, we're thinking about selling, but rates are low. Should I, refinance? And ultimately, there's a cost associated with refinancing your home. Are you going to recover that in the near term, in the short term? Mm-hmm. It depends. How much is your house worth? Where did you start? What have you got invested in it? That's where staying in touch with a local mortgage lender, somebody that can keep you in tune, that's looking out for you on what are rates doing? What are my rates doing? Mm-hmm. What, given my individual situation, because again, we're only talking about averages, that 3.5% or 3.25%. Those rates are for people with the best credit, right? Good debt risk, all of those things. If you've got terrible credit, don't imagine that you're going to get the best interest rate. And it seems mean, but it's the reality of the marketplace.
That's true.
The rates that we talk about are in general for good credit risk. If you are a lower credit risk, doesn't mean that you can't get financing, but you're probably going to pay a higher interest rate than what somebody who's got an 800 credit score versus somebody at a 620 credit score. Mm-hmm. As we talked about in the past, it impacts your insurance rates. So your credit score is important. Knowing where you're at and knowing what not only where you're at, but what drives that credit score is really important if you're thinking about buying a home. So, there's plenty of free services out there that you can access that aren't going to ding your credit when you when you get that run. But having a good idea on your credit score is the way to go. So, reach out to a mortgage lender, whether it's a local bank or a local mortgage broker. Talk to them, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. Here's what I earn. Here, let's see where we're at, and let's see if it makes sense for me to go and make that decision to make a long-term investment. Because again, a house isn't a get in it and turn around and sell it in 2 months in general.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to recoup the money, the investment. But I had a buddy that said to me, he's like, I can't afford a house. I said, have you talked to a lender?
Right.
And then he did, and it's like, oh, I can. I actually can do this.
Yeah.
All right, so the market, this is the time that the market generally heats up. All right,
generally, we start to see more houses hit the market. We see more traffic. You see more buyers that are starting to look, and what drives that? Income tax returns in general. Because people have filed, as soon as they got their W-2s in January, they filed to get their refund, and they're now out looking. They're thinking about that. So there is definitely more competition in the marketplace, but there's also more homes that are hitting the market.
I was going to say, because this is when the inventory opens up a little bit.
It tends to. And every day I log into the MLS and it tells me how many new listings there were, and we're starting to see that ratchet up. We're starting to see to where we're getting, a few more listings. Although I've got my market set wide, so it covers lake properties as well as, Warsaw, Claypool, any of those. So basically most of the county, my market is set. There's homes hitting the market. The thing is, if they're priced right, there's more buyers out there. They're selling pretty quickly, and we are seeing, multiple offer situations again. I know, at the beginning of January, I'm like, hey, it seems like it's a little slow, better than last year, but it's a little bit slow. We've picked right back up to where, if you are a buyer in this marketplace, you need to be prepared to put your best foot forward when you go out and you write that offer. Don't play grandpa's game of I'm going to get 10% off of the list price. If it's a new listing, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get there, that you're going to win. And if winning means getting your offer accepted and ultimately buying that house, it's highly unlikely you're going to win if you play with that old strategy.
Right. You have to check out days on market. There might be a property. That's out there for 120 days.
Right.
Well, then you can change your strategy on how you approach that offer. So it makes a lot of sense. All right. Hey, Mark, your contact information?
Sure. Our website's lakes-realtors.com. Phone numbers 574-834-1233. Can always email me. It's Mark Skibowski at remax.net. Skibowski, 2 skis with a bow in between. That's the way I explain it. It's pretty easy. It sounds tough, but it's really not that tough.
Right.
So you can always email me any questions.
All right, very good. Good information today. We appreciate it. And we'll just touch elbows on the way out. So there we go. All right. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time.